Blue collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
Good day. Welcome to another episode of the Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. How are you doing today? You see this guy right here? This is Peter Daou. This is a Mark Trach fool in my best Compton voice. This is a nutwing. This is a nut job. A crazy man who do not have a clue. Stupid, silly, ignorant, dumbfounded. Don't have a brain. A butt wipe. You know, I try not to call people names. This guy's ridiculous. A little bit about Peter Daou. He's a Democratic strategist who has advised major political figures, including Hillary Clinton, Arlen Specter, John Kerry, he was described by the New York Times as one of the most prominent political bloggers in the nation. Who? This fool? This trick? This punk? Political punk? Don't know what the crap he's talking about? This fool? But that was according to Washington Post, according to Jeff Bezos' paper, because you know they told the Democratic Party line anyway. They are the Koch brothers of the Democratic Party. The Washington Post said that his early work in digital politics helped innovate a whole new way of campaigning. How? The new way of campaigning came through Obama, not Peter Daou. How did it come from Peter Daou? Yeah, you can confuse that with how now brown cow. Daou is the co-founder of media platform Variant. You mean debunk, sorry as crap, bankrupt Variant, which was supposed to bring credibility, supposed to fact check things, to tell you the truth or not. How can a lying machine tell me the truth? A lying machine designed to try to tell you the truth, because Variant is just that, a lying machine. He's the prior chief executive of Progressive News website, Share Blue. Share Blue is not progressive, as Democrat as they come. And not progressive. Stop confusing Democrats with progressives, because Democrats are not progressives. Progressives are, stop. Democrats can be progressive. They might have a progressive policy here too, but they're not progressives. And he is a former producer, engineer, and keyboardist. They tied him to Miles Jones, Stevie Wonder, you name it. They try to tie him to some of the people, some great minds in music. Bottom line is he's a sack of crap. Let me read you something that he said. Hey, this is his tweet. Remember when we warned you it would be really bad, but a bunch of you stayed home or voted third party? First of all, fool, this is America. America's supposed to be have multiple parties. Just because you're greedy, con artist party will do whatever they can to shut out third parties to keep them from having a voice by tag teaming with the Republican Party to keep them from having a voice. Doesn't mean we don't have better candidates out there. But no, you want to push a crappy candidate over another crappy candidate, Mr. Daou. Remember when we warned you? Warn me about what? Warn me about what? I'm not in danger. You still crying over Hillary Clinton? You still crying over Hillary Clinton. You still talking about Hillary Clinton. That con artist. We warned you it would really be bad, but a bunch of you stayed home or voted third party. They got a right to stay home. If people don't want to vote for crap, they ain't got to vote for crap, Doc. You can't force them to vote for crap. Hillary Clinton was a crappy politician. Trump is a crappy politician too, but Hillary Clinton was crappier. So some people decided not to go to vote, and they have every right because people are tired of voting for con artist politicians who say they're going to do something and don't do it. Now you got people like Hillary Clinton who didn't even say she was going to do anything. Trump did. He lied, but he did. And that's why people went out and voted for his behind. People wasn't buying Hillary Clinton. Only you. Only Mark tricks fools like you. What we call Clinton bros. Remember, we implored you not to echo the violent smears against her, but you did it anyway. Remember when we told you, don't talk bad about Hillary Clinton, it's going to hurt her campaign. This is America, freedom of speech. You think people talking about people don't care about, dude, what planet you fell from? She was a horrible candidate, and we don't supposed to say she's not horrible? I know she's a horrible candidate, but don't say it. I know she was doing a horrible job as Secretary of State. But don't say that. I know she fired up Libya, had a man killed. Now the place is a debunked state, and they're selling people on a slave block, and ISIS had took over. I know she ordered the flights to go in. I know she made our military the Air Force of Al Qaeda, Al Nusra, ISIS, and ISIL. Hillary Clinton. Somehow $60 billion, $6 billion end up missing under her watch. Dude, get out of here. It wasn't that people was talking bad about her, Doc. People was telling the truth. So fooey on you to make people who tell the truth shut up and be quiet. You worse than these people trying to get rid of Julian Assange. No, people. Talk about that politician. I don't care who it is. If he done wrong, I don't care who it is. Talk about him. Bring it up. Let people know. Give people an idea of what kind of crappy politician they are so people can go investigate that crappy politician. I don't care if it's Hillary Clinton. I don't care if it's Bernie Sanders. I don't care if it's whoever. This is a crying freaking email. This is a little crybaby punk, Peter Daou. Remember when we warned you it would be really bad, but a bunch of you stayed home. You expect people to get out and vote for Hillary Clinton because you say Donald Trump is bad? Hillary Clinton was just as bad as Donald Trump. And people like, Bill Maher said you don't need to be saying that. They're not the same. And nobody said that they're the same. I say they're just as bad. There's one level of badness and there's another level of badness. Some people are bad in one area, some people are good in one area, the other person bad in one area and good in there. Bottom line, both of them was horrible. We would be in the full-scale war of Russia right now. We would have been the air defense of Syria, air defense for ISIS in Syria also, toppling that government, having no plan, strategy to fix the country up. It would have been the same thing that we did in Iraq, same thing we did in Libya, and any other country we put our stinking hands to. And you stayed home and you voted for third party. Of course I'm going to vote for third party. You don't own nobody vote. And most of the people in this world are not Democrats, dude. So take your little whiny crying behind and sit your behind in the corner. Little baby. Remember when we implored you not to echo the violent smears? No, remember we echoed the truth. It's not a smear when it's the truth, brah. But you did it anyway. Of course we're going to do it anyway. Hey, look, I echo violent smears against Trump. I live in New York. I know Trump. Most people in America think
her return to the scene.
I found this to be perhaps the most astonishing Hillary Clinton appearance I've ever seen. It was perhaps her at her most authentic.
I think what Jim Comey did was to throw overboard Justice Department procedures because of political reasons, his own internal politics because of the hatred for Hillary Clinton within the FBI.
20% of people voted because of racism. And I think after 8 years of a black president, there was no way that this woman was going to win.
They live in an irony-free world. All that gushing, but it's not surprising if you've been following it. Remember any of these New York Times headlines from the days right before the election? On the Hillary side, here's one. Hillary Clinton sees ugliness and joy in race's closing days. And this, big names campaigning for Hillary Clinton underscore Donald Trump's isolation. Yeah, he could never win. For Trump, how about this one? Donald Trump's moments and missteps, a look back, or black voters aghast at Trump find a place of food and comfort. But wait, didn't Trump get a higher percentage of the African-American vote than Mitt Romney did? So maybe the press didn't actually know what they were talking about. Maybe they still don't. Either way, it's hard to argue they were rooting for Donald Trump to become president, and yet many Hillary fans disagree with that. Peter Daou, for example, was an advisor to Hillary's 2008 presidential campaign, and he joins us tonight. Peter, thanks a lot for coming on.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
I don't doubt that the Comey announcement had an effect on the election. I thought that at the time. But the press was foursquare for Hillary Clinton from the moment Donald Trump got the nomination. They didn't hide it at all. And the emails that were leaked from John Podesta's Gmail account proved they were collaborating with the Hillary campaign. So there's not really much of an argument to make, do you think, that the press was on Trump's side?
Look, a conservative is going to say that the mainstream media, President Trump, and liberals, progressives, Democrats are going to say that they were against Hillary Clinton. The fact is there have been independent studies that were done. Harvard Shorenstein Center did one. And look, both candidates got very bad press. You know, candidate Trump got terrible press, and Hillary Clinton got very bad press. One thing that was profoundly different, though, on the email story specifically, we counted 600 days out of a research team, 600 consecutive days of coverage that far, far outweighed any coverage of any other Trump story.
So really, where was that? Where was that coverage? Was that in the New York Times and the Washington Post? Oh no, it wasn't. It was on. No, it wasn't. I ran one of those news organizations at the time, and it was not in the. No, that's not true. Well, New York Times did not run 600 days of email stories.
Well, Gallup actually, Tucker, Gallup had an analysis that said that the only thing that voters heard when they heard Hillary Clinton's name was email.
Yeah,
there was a word cloud where the word email was larger than every single other word. So. Yeah. Look, the email story dominated coverage from the very beginning. It was something that she made a mistake, and she apologized.
On the right, it did, but not in the New York Times, not in the Washington Post. Instead, the New York Times wrote pieces like this. Here's a piece by Michael Barbero, 3 days before the election. Hillary Clinton at a campaign rally, and I'm quoting this now. This is like a prose poem. It's erotic in its intensity. Quote, her arms thrust skyward, one after another, in what starts to feel like a dance. There's an unfamiliar sense of abandon and joy. The rain grows heavier. Her wet clothes turn a shade darker. She cracks a wide smile. She takes in the scene around her and laughs before she finishes her sentence. I could go on, but I'm feeling creepy about it. Meanwhile, same day, I won't go on, but the headline in the Times was, thin line splits Donald Trump's politics and business. Trump is a villain. Hillary is a hero. That was a storyline in every major media organization in America. You were there.
I dispute that completely. Look, you can cherry pick stories that were positive for her or negative against him. Look, at the end of the day, the overall narrative in the mainstream media, and my issue has been with the New York Times, the Washington Post, and other networks. There was analysis done of the major network coverage, 3 nightly news coverage, 6-to-1 ratio of email coverage over her policies. So how can voters decide? Look, Donald Trump won the election. He's a legitimate president. I've always said that. This is not about having Hillary Clinton become president. This is about telling the truth of what happened.
Okay.
Let me just say this, Tucker.
I mean, these independent studies are done by political hacks posing as journalists. The Shorenstein Center. I mean, I am a journalist. I sort of know the people who work there, and you're not going to tell me, because again, I know them, that they're politically independent, because they're not. They were as horrified as Martha Raddatz was when she cried on television at Trump's victory. Well, these people don't like Trump. I mean, that's true.
Well, let me give you a narrative, sort of framework that tied through everything, and a lot of people fell into this trap.
collar, white collar, black professors, white scholars, politicians, Dalai Lamas. Everybody in the whole wide world need hope if I be honest. I'm in that number.
Good day. Welcome to another episode of the Rob Report. I'm your host, Robert Bob TV Brown. How are you doing today? You see this guy right here? This is Peter Daou. This is a Mark Trach fool in my best Compton voice. This is a nutwing. This is a nut job. A crazy man who do not have a clue. Stupid, silly, ignorant, dumbfounded. Don't have a brain. A butt wipe. You know, I try not to call people names. This guy's ridiculous. A little bit about Peter Daou. He's a Democratic strategist who has advised major political figures, including Hillary Clinton, Arlen Specter, John Kerry, he was described by the New York Times as one of the most prominent political bloggers in the nation. Who? This fool? This trick? This punk? Political punk? Don't know what the crap he's talking about? This fool?
Welcome to another episode of Straight Outta Politics. I'm your host for today. I'm Compton J. That's where I get the CJ. In real life, I'm Jay. Actually, I got the name. I think Nick was the person who coined the name. We were in a meeting back when we were called FHL, Fred Hampton Leftists. It was like, oh, you're James. I'm like, you can call me Jay. And then it was turned to JB, and it was like, did they call you Jay too? Yeah. It's like, okay, you're Jay. You're James. Okay, CJ. And that's kind of how it went. In a meeting. That's how I got the name. But anyway, welcome to the show. I replayed this because this is what's getting clipped for future clips. The stuff that gets played before our little intro isn't clip for clip. So that was just for your information only. I played a little longer, but I had to play this as an intro because this is who we are talking about. So when we're talking about Jill Stein or Dr. Jill Stein announcing that she was the one who picked Peter Daou, we first have to go back and say, look at real-time discussion of who Peter Daou was by people who may have been in our camp or Bernie Sanders camp at the time. And Bob TV, Rob right here, shout out to Rob. He may be in the comments. If you see Bob TV, this is him right here, the Rob Report. I'm not going to play more because I played. If you want to see more of this video, just rewind to previous. And it's the first video that's played. I played probably 10 minutes of it if you want to check it out. So that's what I'll say about the rest of the video. Because some of you who are just tuning in, who just saw this snippet, like, wow, I want to see more. You can just rewind back. And let me see where it's at. Let me see. Let me tell you what I'll do. I will put the link in later. I won't do it now because I'm got so many windows open. So I'll put the link in later if you want to look at the entire video from Bob TV, the Rob Report. But let's talk about the topics we're going to be talking about today. And let's throw up. So this was the graphic that was originally made, and I said, that's a little bit too much. Let's go ahead and go with this graphic. So the biggest news, the biggest story, probably the second or third story we're going to get to today is going to be this. This is the main story, but I got to wait for more people to get here because I hate to get started on the main story and then there's another 100 or 200 people that's going to be arriving. So I do want to get kind of warmed up. So the main topic is Jill Stein, or Dr. Jill Stein, I should say, coming out and making a blanket or sort of like an announcement that she was the one who suggested or brought on Peter Daou. And it's unusual for a campaign or people or a person associated with a campaign to have to come out and make a statement based about the campaign manager, and he hasn't done 1 day of work for the campaign yet. That is highly unusual, and it's because I believe the announcement was made. Yeah, the announcement was made, and it was a lot of backlash. I would say it's about 60-40, and we'll get into some of the comments. The comments on Dr. Jill Stein's tweet about this that we're going to go through, that's more about 75-25, about 75 negative, 25 positive. But anyway, we're going to get into all of that. Let me go over the rest of the topic. So Dr. Jill Stein announces that she picked Peter Daou, and then we're also going to cover the UAW president saying the segment on CNN with Jake Tapper, where he says, yeah, we'll wreck the economy. And loving everything I'm hearing from the UAW leadership, or at least from this guy, at least when he goes on TV. Don't know if he's following through, but I wish all unions behave this way. And he's like, yeah, we want a 40% raise. Why are you going for 10%? Why are you going for 15%? What do you mean? You made, and I love in the clip because he breaks down, what do you mean? They charge 30% more for their vehicles. Over the last so many decades, they've made $250 billion. Give me a break. So love it. We're going to cover that. Also, we'll cover some very short stories. Of course, Joe Biden lies about his whereabouts the day after 9/11. So we're going to cover that. CNN actually covers this. And then there's a clip that's going viral that shows a CEO of a corporation talking about workers saying, yeah, workers are too arrogant right now, and we need to make them feel the pain. Just basically saying, you talking about saying the quiet part out loud. This is saying the secret society shit out loud with a bullhorn, and it's great to see that, or for us to break down that analysis. And I do want to get to let's see which one I'm going to get to first here. I think I'm going to do the UAW president first. Hopefully I'm able to get to the Nikki Haley story when she's unhinged on CNN with Jake Tapper. I mean unhinged. You know, when Nick says unhinged, that level unhinged, he can do a lot better than I can. But let's bring up the first story, and we're going to cover, let's see here. No. Getting the ad pop up here. We're going to cover the first story, which I said is, where is my Twitter? Let's cover the UAW. It's a beautiful thing. I call it Twitter. People are saying this is X. This is X. When I still type in Twitter and it goes to Twitter. But I guess this is X now, I guess. I thought that was just branding. I had no idea they were going to change the URL until it did. Getting sidetracked. All right, let's go to my bookmarks. And now I'm gonna switch this up. Let's go to Bob TV. Shout out to Bob again. How many things do I have open? This one. Let's go to Twitter in this box so I don't have to change it. And then we're going to cover the UAW. And like I said, I wish all unions were like this. And I think this is one more day. It's tomorrow, the 14th. Like, is it the 14th tonight, meaning midnight tonight? Or is it tomorrow? As far as the strike will begin, let's go to bookmarks. And let's go to, do you see it? How come this doesn't look? Oh, right here. Wreck economy. I didn't put the right thing. Anyway, here we go. Here's just a snippet of it. You know what? let's play the full version. I know I'm about to make you guys mad because I just remembered they did drop a full version of this because I saved it to my favorites now that I recall. So let's go and play the full version because this clip right here is only 1 minute. And the UAW guy says something so shocking, I guess so jarring to Jake Tapper that he just taps out of the interview. He goes, that's it for me. Oh, wait, where do I have that at? 1 second, everybody. 1 second, everybody. So I'll take that down. So I think it's in my messages. I think it's in my messages. So I have to take that down for 1 second. Is it? Yeah, it's in my messages. All right, so give me a moment. Apologies for the delay. Now I have it up. All right, so let me now share a different screen. And I really do need to get a producer here. All right, so it's on CNN Business. So they snuck this in sort of under CNN Business. And it says UAW president says auto strike will hurt mostly billionaire class. I wonder how the billionaire class, what they think when they see something like this. But this is fantastic news here. And let's give it the right title. UAW president. Right. President on CNN. That's good enough. All right. Now the clip is in this article. That's why I have to go here to play it. It's not on their normal website. So here it is. Let's play it. Give it a second, everybody. Hopefully it doesn't play commercials or anything like that. But let's see. It doesn't play a commercial. It just throws this up there.
4 days or else.
There we go.
4 days or else. We are just 4 days away from more than 140,000 union workers possibly going on strike against the big three automakers. Those are Ford,
love this interview,
General Motors, and Stellantis. Stellantis is the international company that now owns Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler. Now, those contracts expire just before midnight.
I'm still here, everybody.
Thursday
Don't
night.
worry. Just turn the
Among
camera
the
off for a second.
issues the union is pushing for are a shorter work week and a 40% hourly wage increase over the course of 4 years. We're joined now by United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain. Shawn, thanks for joining us. A week ago when you spoke with my colleague Bianca Goladriga on the lead, you said the big three hadn't even put any counter proposals on the table. Now, since then, my understanding is that they have. Ford and GM have offered a 10% pay hike. Stellantis offered a 14.5% pay hike. There's other stuff there as well. Does UAW have a counter?
Yeah, we've been countering. We've been meeting. And first off, thanks for having us on here, Jake. Yeah, we've been meeting. We met through the weekend. First off, I want to say it's a shame that we gave our economic demands to these companies well over a month ago, almost 5 weeks ago, and didn't hear anything. And from the onset of bargaining, we've told them we want to do things differently, and we do not expect them to wait till the last minute and then want to settle everything. And so, unfortunately, they didn't heed our advice. They waited till the last week. We had to file ULPs at 2 companies to get them moving. And so, we've made a little bit of progress. It's still slow, but we're moving. We have a long way to go.
What other sticking points are there? Obviously, 10 and 14.5% raises are not 40%, but other than that, what other sticking points?
Other than that big thing.
Well, I mean, wage increases, cost of living allowance, job security for our members, and our members are being left behind, not just with the transition to EV, but just with product placement, retirement security. So there's a lot of issues feeding into this, and that's why we, like as I said up front, we pushed the companies that we wanted to get serious early, so we didn't come down to the wire and have to settle a lot of things at the last minute. Unfortunately, that's where we are. That's where the companies chose to put us. And, we'll see how the next 3 days play out.
Is this an industry-wide
they
strike? In
Let's
other
pray
words,
that's right.
is it possible you might come to terms with one of the big three and strike the other two? Or is it just all three or nothing?
We have been firm with all three companies that September 14th is a deadline, not a reference point. And so, we expected to get agreements by the.
So I do think that means midnight tonight. I believe that's what that means. So it's today or later tonight.
14th. If we get an agreement with the company by the 14th, that's great for them. But, if there's other companies still out there, then there will be action. We have never wavered on that. We've been firm about that from day one. So there's no excuse to not be there.
When you spoke with the lead a week ago, you made some headlines by declining to say when or if you will endorse President Biden for.
Now, ask yourself this question. What is the use of this question here? Why are you pivoting anything about an election when we're talking about labor? So are you sort of unmasking yourself as far as you're trying to say you're only interested in this conversation in the framework of, are you going to endorse Joe Biden? I don't get the purpose of this. Why are we pivoting to an election when you're talking about the president of the UAW? Why is it your task, is another question. Why is it your task to try to get an endorsement out of him for Biden? Why isn't the question, are you going to endorse any president? Why are you asking him specifically about Biden? Let's listen.
For re-election, saying that the union's endorsement has to be earned. I assume, is that still how things stand?
Yeah, I mean, it's we have a lot of work ahead of us, a lot to be done, and as we say, our endorsements are going to be earned, not freely given, and actions are going to dictate endorsements. So we'll see how things continue to play out, and we have a lot of issues to resolve. I mean, there's a lot with the EV transition that has to happen, and
these interviews, you can always, I don't know if it's you, but I always sense a level of tension that I'm sensing with, I think it's Jake Tapper, with this guy right now, because he has to have the ability to appear like he's not here to savage the person that represents workers on behalf of capitalists. He has to appear like, what's going on? When he's really here to try to savage this guy, depending on his answers. Jake Tapper is in no way trying to see what the issue is so that we can get this resolved in workers' favor. Let's continue. I got a little more, but he says some more that I want to include before I say that.
Hundreds of billions of our taxpayer dollars that are helping fund this, and workers cannot continue to be left behind in that equation.
President Biden considers himself to be the most pro-labor president ever. Do you see him that way?
Why are you the representative for Biden to even ask this question? Biden is not no pro. This is the mental jiu-jitsu you have to believe to think that Biden is the most pro-labor president when he breaks the strike at the same time. Do you understand that? The highest level of not being for labor is breaking the strike. Is there anything higher than that? What's higher than breaking a strike to be considered anti-worker? So how can it be both? How can you be the best pal to labor and break strikes? How can you be a part of the theater when they pretended to have a tentative agreement that never was? So they can buy time for the election in 2022? Like what? And to the point that I was saying, if you look at Jake Tapper, he wants to say other things like, you fucking worker, take your ass back to work. Like my bosses say, like my overlords say, but he has to be reserved, and you can see it in their faces. When they're hearing what they're hearing, watch especially when he gets to the stuff about wrecking the economy, he taps out. They're going back and forth. Then he goes, oh no, I can't even say nothing to that. Because if I combat that, I'm going to fully appear what I'm here to be, what I'm here to represent, and that's for the capitalist class. But let's listen to another minute and a half here.
I think there's a lot of work to be done in that category. I mean, I look back at FDR and presidents such as that time frame, and that did a lot of work for labor. But I don't want to turn this into a debate about President Biden. That's really not what we're here about. I'm here to talk about our members and where we've got to get. So
he had to refocus.
Analysts say a prolonged strike will push up auto prices and dramatically hurt the
analysts. This is a tactic, a classic. These are one of the classic propaganda tactics. Is that because you can't just say people, you have to give an expert, a title, a judge, a law enforcement, somebody that has authority. You go analysts, experts say, who? Capitalists? Who are you talking about, Jake? I think it's Jake. If it's not Jake, somebody correct me. I don't see it on the screen on CNN.
The economy. Are you worried about either of those possibilities?
Let me rewind it so I can hear this part.
And where we've got to get. So
analysts say a prolonged strike will push up auto prices and dramatically hurt the economy. Are you worried about either of those possibilities?
Now, if analysts told you you could melt cheese in the freezer because an expert or analyst says that, that means that's true? Because we need to break down his question and not just assume his question. Let me rewind it and play it.
About our members and where we've got to get. So
analysts say a prolonged strike will push up auto prices and dramatically.
One, analysts say that. How is that connected? How is that connected? What you're skipping over in your description, because what you're describing, Jake, you're talking about greed. That's the part you're missing, because there's nowhere written in this system where if you pay your workers more, you have to raise your prices, unless you're talking about to ensure your profit margins are not affected. Remember what I said? Greed. So yes, they will raise their prices on vehicles to recoup whatever employee wages they pay, or whatever increase in employee wages they give. They'll recoup that by raising it on the customer. Nowhere says they have to do that. So why is the question framed as this an automatic? As if, oh, no, it's no levers, like it just happens automatic. But anyway, belabor the point. Let's go.
Dramatically hurt the economy. Are you worried about either of those possibilities?
Fuck no.
It's amazing to me how analysts.
Oh, I forgot this part. Like I said, breaking down the question before you even get to the answer.
A prolonged strike will push up auto prices and dramatically hurt the economy. Are you
push up auto prices? I address dramatically hurt the economy. What state is the economy in now? Is the economy hunky dory right now? What state is the economy in right now, Jake Tapper? Who can afford auto prices who can afford car auto prices right now? Jake Tapper. So when he says it'll hurt the economy, think about the concept of economy. When they say economy, are they talking about the wages of workers? Or when they say economy, are they talking about the profits of capitalists? This is why they can say Bidenomics is going great. Economy's going great. Look, low unemployment, Look, stock market's doing good. How does that indicators that workers are doing good? And this is an example I'm going to be using moving forward. You know what else? If unemployment is an indicator, there are markers. The point that I'm trying to make here is there markers to indicate what's a good economy, or markers to indicate how well the owner class is doing. They're not markers on how the worker class is doing at all. And you would think, well, no, that's unemployment. No, it's not. Because let me give you this example. You know when they had the best unemployment rate, like damn near zero, if not zero? Slavery. American slavery. Unemployment was at zero. Does that mean the economy was doing good for workers? Fuck out of here. Let's continue. This is nonsense. And you see what these corporate shields on these networks are here to do. Quasi ask questions as if they care about workers, but really they're getting to the meat and potatoes, trying to make you seem like you're the unreasonable one, labor.
Are you worried about either of those possibilities?
You know, it's amazing to me how analysts, when workers ask for their fair share, it's always the end of the world. And, no one, the last 4 years in general, okay, in the last decade, these companies made $250 billion in profit. In the last 6 months alone, they made $21 billion in profit. In the last 4 years, the price.
How the hell are you making $250 billion? A quarter. Think about that, people. Think about that. Think about our economic system and if it was different. If the workers own the means of production. The workers at this company is producing value of $250 billion. How isn't every single employee a multi-millionaire? How is that? Better question. How is it that workers make you $250 billion, and then when they say give me a raise, you say fuck off? I don't even understand how is that even a good sort of like business model. The people, the most valuable thing you have as a business owner, the people who are doing the work, make you $250,000. You can't throw them, an extra $5 trillion. An extra $5 billion in wages, an extra 10 billion in wages. I just don't understand capitalism as an economic model. If you're not paying workers enough money to buy the product, where are you getting your customers from? Let's back it up and let him answer the question again, uninterrupted by CJ.
It's amazing to me how analysts, when workers ask for their fair share, it's always the end of the world. And, no one, the last 4 years in general, okay, in the last decade, these companies made $250 billion in profit. In the last 6 months alone, they made $21 billion in profit. In the last 4 years, the price of cars went up 30%. CEO pay went up 40%. No one said a word. No one had any complaints about that. But now, God forbid that workers actually ask for their fair share of equity in the fruits of the labor and the product they produce.
Did you see the change in Jake Tapper's face? Jake Tapper was listening to him. And you can see his demeanor change because it's a realization. There's no way I can combat this. There's no way I don't have a response for this. That's the realization you see in Jake Tapper's face. And now you can see it in the still shot here. Look at that. He's like, I'm over it. I'm over this interview. And look before. So let's listen.
21 billion in profit. In the last 4 years, the price of
Look at
cars
his
went up
face.
30%.
He's gonna
CEO
realize,
pay went
like,
up 40%.
I'm done with
No
this.
one said a word. No one had any complaints about
Right
that.
there.
But now, God forbid that workers actually
Yeah,
ask
this
for
is
their
over.
fair share of equity in the fruits of the labor and the product they produce. And all of a sudden, it's the end of the world. So, you know, if you know, the talking heads, the pundits, the companies want to say that, you know, if we strike, it can wreck the economy. It's not that we're going to wreck the economy. We're going to wreck their economy, the economy that only works for the billionaire class. It doesn't work for the working class.
Hear that, analysts? All right, UAW President Shawn Fain, thanks for your time today. I appreciate it, sir.
He's realizing, damn, this is a union that has not been co-opted, maybe. Fuck. This is not a union leadership that's trying to propose a sellout contract, you bastard. One of them got through. And we're going to see. We're going to see. It's highly unlikely. I haven't heard anything. Have anybody in the comments, have you heard? I haven't heard any deals up until the time I was preparing for this show. I didn't hear like anything drop or anything like that. So I'm assuming it's still, you know, in its place as far as the negotiation process between the two camps. That's what I'm going to assume. But I will do one check for everybody, and we'll all check together. We're going to check on Twitter or X. Yeah, it says Twitter in the URL, so I'll call it what it says in the URL unless it's going to change. But let's look up to see if there's any new updates. I don't know if he's gone on a done another interview that was after this one I just showed. But had to show that one. That one absolutely went viral. Let's see here. That's the same one. So far, so good. I think this is just that's a promo, like a hype video for them. Okay, so there is nothing new so far. There is nothing new. But let's play this video. It says, and this is from the Party for Socialism and Liberation. This is the party that Claudia de la Cruz is running for as a socialist. And she's running on a platform to end capitalism, which I love. So, but Party for Socialism and Liberation's tweet says 150,000 auto workers are preparing to go on strike if the massively profitable big three U.S. automakers don't deliver a fair contract to UAW workers. Auto workers will shut down the entire U.S. auto industry. We went to the Detroit Labor Day parade to hear from workers themselves. And this is just some words from workers.
Those CEO jobs, those are the jobs that could be automated.
That's right. Get them out of there.
Yeah, get them out of there.
And they don't realize whether you corporate management and all of that. If it wasn't for the people you see walking in this parade, they wouldn't have a check either, would they?
This year, Labor Day is falling on the eve of what could be one of the biggest labor showdowns in recent memory. In just 10 days, the contracts between the big three U.S. auto companies, GM, Stellantis, and Ford, and over 150,000 UAW members will expire. If the big three auto companies don't come to the table and reach a fair agreement, auto workers will strike and effectively bring the entire auto industry to a grinding halt. We're here at the Labor Day parade in Detroit, the potential epicenter of this battle and the home of the big three automakers, to talk to workers about their fight.
Ready for war!
Ready for
Ready
war?
for war, baby! Whatever it takes.
Ready for war. I love hearing that.
Yeah.
Committee person, I'm a committee person.
Okay.
We got some stewards in the back, and we're ready.
These CEOs and these corporations and companies are making billions and trillions off of our backs, and the workers who are there every single day putting their foot forward for the company need to be recognized for that.
We are just like the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers, UPS, Starbucks, and everybody. We all need some money because we all take care of everybody.
Loved it. Love it. Love when they get actual workers. That's why I love it wasn't this clip, it was another clip I saw on this. This is not the only one they put out. Let's check and see. here goes some of the members' demands. Let's look and see this here. This is a good thread. Let's watch this part here.
Among the United Auto Workers' core demands include the end of the two-tier wage system, a pay increase that matches or exceeds the 40% pay increase the big three CEOs have gotten in the last 4 years, cost of living adjustments, defined pensions, and stronger protections around plant closures. The big three have called these demands unrealistic, but are they? In the last 10 years, the big three auto giants have made $250 billion in profit. In addition to the CEO raises, shareholder payouts have also increased. At Ford alone, investors have seen a 150% increase in dividend payments. Any honest look at the numbers shows that the big three are happy to share their profits with anyone who's already rich, but not the workers who generated them.
And these CEOs are now coming back and saying, oh, well, the UAW's got to be realistic. The workers have to be realistic. What's your response to that?
Well, define what realistic is. Is it realistic to make over $250 billion?
We've had quite a few, people's fingers getting smashed, backs, trucks hitting people on the head. It's all kind of injuries that you can get building these trucks. Whether it's Ford, GM, doesn't matter. We're in there every day putting our bodies into the mere trucks that everybody is driving every day in cars.
In 2008, 2009, when the big three were in dire straits, they came to us and we opened our contract back up and gave them a lot of things that we're trying to get back now to help them stay afloat for the, live to fight another day type of scenario, right? So we did that, and now we're asking for those things back, right? Over a decade later.
Wow. I mean, it shows you what the employer thinks of you when you're a family member when they need your help. They don't know you when you need their help. You're a family member. Okay, come on, family member. We're all family here. Stay a little overtime. What's going on with that raise? I don't know you. All right, so we're gonna close this segment here. Let me see if there's a quick segment to go on. A quick segment to go on here. I did that one. Yeah. Yes. Let's bring up this video here. Another quick little segment. Because it goes well with what we just watched, which was a labor dispute. So let's quickly watch the CEO talk about workers, and this is a mask off sort of eye-opening moment here. Let's see. CEO says, I feel like I typed this already. CEO says workers need to feel pain. All right, so let's get to this one, Aaron. We'll start here. CEO says workers need to feel pain, and he also says workers are arrogant. This is Tim Gurner, founder and CEO of Gurner Group. And the reason this video has gone so viral, in my estimation, is because this is what we kind of been saying, how companies and CEOs view workers all along, and to hear one of them articulate exactly what we've been saying is great, because now we have the receipts.
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that has had a massive issue on productivity. Tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50% in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where
a system where very few people can inflict this type of pain on the masses is not a system that should sustain or should last. And that's the system we have. And this is them admitting that. Time to inflict pain. So when you see what the Fed chair is doing, what are they trying to do? Suppress wages. Get you back in line. What do you mean remote work? Bring your ass back to work 5 days a week. Like it is the worker owner relationship is very similar to the slave owner relationship. It's an arrogance of the owner, like how you have the audacity. These scraps of food I'm getting, these rags I'm throwing to you, you're lucky to have me. You wouldn't have any of this, like you being benevolent. Let's rewind so you can hear that jarring part again and let him finish out the rest of the clip.
And we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has.
They know that is the dynamic, that the owner is extremely lucky to have the employees. That's the leverage. And what the owner does to leverage that is to create false unemployment. Now, you think, I forget who did this. I think it was Amazon was one, maybe Google. You think they just woke up one day and said, oh, 10,000 workers we don't need? Or is a coordinated attempt to do exactly what he's saying right here? Do you really believe there's certain companies all in months apart laying off tens of thousands of workers at the same time? Let's continue.
That has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is.
You have to kill the attitude of a worker understanding their power by killing the economy.
What the whole global, the world is trying to do, the governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. All right.
He's admitting, I'm going to rewind it. He's admitting that this is what countries are doing all over the world, trying to get this arrogance out of workers under control. Let's listen to that again.
World is trying to do, the governments around the world are trying.
Oops, I didn't go far enough. Let's go all the way here then. Listen, governments all around the world. What does he says?
As opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about.
There's definitely massive layoffs going on. But then there's people that's talking about let's do some around the edges tweaks to capitalism to make it better. This is the ideology of the people who have the money, of the owner class. This is their ideology. I'm better than you. You're going to do what I say or you die. I got to listen to it one more time, all the way through this time. So much in there. Jeez.
Rise. Unemployment has to jump 40, 50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them, as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the cost balance.
Truly amazing. Let's look at some of the comments, and Actually, let's go to right here. Caitlin Johnstone. Look what she put out. She saw this, and this is what she put out. This is that guy, Tim Garner. I think that's how you say it, or Gurner. He's a property developer. Tim Gurner's new chain of wellness and anti-aging gyms, St. Heavens, represents a return to his roots. Gunner's first business was actually a gym. And this is his worth, $912 million. Last year, actually, it says 929. So he lost about 17 million. That's who that guy is. I'll read a little bit of this that Caitlin writes here. Wealthy capitalist accidentally makes great argument for revolution. Recent comments from a wealthy Australian property developer named Tim Gurner, are going viral on social media right now for the unusual frankness with which he discusses the inherent conflict of interest between the working class and employers. Saying workers who've grown lazy and arrogant during COVID need to experience economic pain in the form of unemployment to rein them in and put them in their place. Oops, I went up too quickly. Gurner, with a net worth of 912 million is ranked by Australia's Financial Review as the 154th richest person in Australia. Wow. Made the remarks at an Australia Financial Review property summit on Tuesday. And I don't need to read the quote everybody saw, but it's not often that you'll see a member of the ruling class reveal their hostility, slave master attitude. And you hear what I said. That's where that comes from. Slave master attitude towards the working class so transparently. Perhaps Gurner got a little too careless showing off in front of his rich friends at a forum which, like most things that happen in Australia, never attracts much international attention, but it also wouldn't be the first time Gurner drew headlines by publicly expressing his disdain for normal working people. In 2017, he became a meme for blaming the economy struggles on millennials on the idea that they spend too much of their money on avocado toast. Now, Caitlin, I believe, is from Australia, so she knows a lot more about him. But let's get to one of the quotes because it's very interesting. He talks about Marx. Whether he intended his remarks to gain attention or not, Gurner has gone viral once again, and opponents of the status quo he thrives on are making swift use of his comments. So, quote, I like teaching lefty theory as much as the next guy, but I can rarely do better at explaining the connection between capitalism or capital and social political domination than just pointing at what the other guys with capitals do and say. This is the one I wanted to get to right here. When Marx said that capitalism, in order to function, literally requires unemployment and homelessness to discipline wages to ensure satisfactory profitability and maintain a useful social dominance of working class, don't take it from us. Take it from the capitalists. Now, I want to talk about this point because we always say you can solve homelessness like that. Do they want to solve homelessness? If we're going off this quote right here, let's read it again. Where Marxists say that capitalism, in order to function, literally requires unemployment and homelessness to discipline wages, to ensure satisfactory profitability, and maintain a useful social domination of the working class, Don't take it from us, take it from capitalists. And he just spoke those words. And I think I'm going to close it here. And it's time to get to the main event. Covered that, which is a former Clinton advisor who previously blasted the Democratic Party for lacking a moral compass has joined the third-party candidate Cornel West's 2024 campaign. That's Newsweek. But here is the announcement by Dr. Stein, and we're going to be covering this now. I'm going to read, before we get into the segment, I'm going to read the 3 super chats, and then we're going to start this segment. We're going to go through the thread. We'll probably read some of the comments. Maybe I'll read the comments that I retweeted because they're already been sort of screened. We're at 296 likes. That's 300. Now we're over 600 people that are here. So if we can get another 200 people currently watching right this moment, 200 more people to hit that like button, that would greatly help us here on the Straight Outta Politics show. And now let's read a couple of super chats here. Read a couple of super chats. First super chat from DC, $2. Fake election, hashtag fake elections are fake. Democracy died in the darkness. Thank you, DC. Abiding 71 with the super sticker, always showing love. Here goes Roger Meadows. Worker co-ops can stop AI and make this guy irrelevant. True that, Roger Meadows, always with the good information to know. Comments. I wanted to go to some of your comments too. That's what I was trying to think. What else was I going to do here? And also wanted to check and see who's in the comment section. Let's see here. On a Barbie. Capital criminals. So this is maybe I'll save this for the segment. I'll save that part for the segment so that it's clipped together. All right, so I went through some of the comments. Thank you for everybody that's here. Make sure you hit that like button. We got everybody from Twitch. We got people from Rumble. We got people on Facebook watching. We got people on the RBN Long Beach channel on YouTube, the main channel on RBN, Twitter. Am I missing one more place? So welcome everybody. Let's get into this next discussion here. This is the main event, and let me blow this up. And Aaron, we can start here. Dr. Stein picked Peter Daou, and she comes out and admits it in this tweet right here, and we're going to be discussing it. But before we get into the discussion, my framing of this discussion is not to cancel anybody, not to say that anybody is saying that, because nobody is, but I'm just trying to, the most extreme thing I can think of. No one's saying cancel Jill Stein. I'm not saying that at all. When we are in community and we're on this fight, there's going to be a disagreement. This is a disagreement of people on the same team. I'm not talking about the pseudo left, the NATO left. I'm talking about the people to their left, who are all backing this third party candidate, because the Bernie Sanders industrial complex is backing Joe Biden. They've all said it. So you have to ask yourself, who is the constituency, though, for a Green Party, a party that is outside of the third party? Who would vote for a Green Party with all the propaganda that if we don't stop Trump from getting in office, democracy died. A person who would hear that sort of nonsense and go, fuck it, I'm still voting green, that is the customer. Think about it that way. That's the customer. You have to ask yourself, what does that customer want? How do you make that customer happy? How do you make that customer engaged in order for this to be a movement? How do you do that? I can tell you one way not to do it. You don't appoint somebody like Peter Daou. You don't bring in somebody like Peter Daou. If you're trying to increase enthusiasm, if you're trying to get some donations, if you're trying to get some volunteers, adding Peter Daou as a campaign manager is to get the opposite of that. Ask yourself this question, and I pose this to Cornel West and Dr. Stein. Do you think adding Peter Daou inspires people to give donations to the Cornel West campaign? Do you think that inspires people? Do you think more people would give donations, or you would have more donations if you had a different campaign manager than Peter Daou? Because you can say all you want. Oh, if you're a real person, you would. No. It matters if you have a corrupt, despicable person like this on your team, not even on your team. Because I can say, let me answer one of the pushbacks before I even get into her thing. Because this is the number one pushback. He's reformed. I believe in, because I believe in reformative justice. But what does reformative justice have to do with putting the person, said reformed person, into a position of influence, power, or advisory? Those two things have nothing to do with each other. No one is saying Peter Daou should not be a part of this movement. No one is saying Peter Daou should not support Cornel West. No one's saying that. So him being reformed, yes, you fighting right alongside us. But he is part of the rank and file. He is not to be put in any sort of leadership whatsoever. That's the point. So let's get into this tweet here. I got a lot written down because I wanted to come at this less from more analytics. So let's analyze this from a strategic point of view. We'll do it from a bunch of point of views. Strategic, policy point of view, we'll analyze it. But like I said earlier, but let me say it again so it's included in this segment, Jill Stein had to come out with this statement because Cornel West was catching all the heat for the decision she made. Cornel West made the announcement, and I'm telling you, you go look at his announcement, that shit's not good. The reaction, that shit's not good. I can hear an echo upstairs. Somebody's watching my show upstairs. Hey, turn down the volume. Yeah, they're watching it. Hopefully you can't hear it. But anyway, another thing I wanted to say before I get started. Actually, no. Let me read some, and because I have so much to say on this. Let's read it. Newsflash. It was me that brought Peter Daou to Cornel West. Why? Because I learned how essential an experienced campaign manager is from my campaigns without one. Let's stop here. Tell me if you can hear the sound in the background. I don't know how it came on upstairs. Experienced campaign manager. Now, let's say Peter Daou's an experienced campaign manager. Experienced in what way? Is his experience a good thing? Like, did he win any campaigns? What is the use of the experience if the experience didn't win? What's the use of the experience? This is a more important question. What's the use of the experience if the experience was slimy and terrible and despicable like he was when he was a campaign manager involved with the Hillary Clinton campaign? What's the use of that experience? Oh, let me check and see if you guys can hear the thing upstairs. It's very low, but I don't know. It looks like nobody can hear the volume in the back. It's just throwing me off because I can hear it. Yeah. All right. Nobody can hear it. All right. So let's get back to this tweet. Okay. So that's fine. So she's apparently saying, hey, I've been through this. I didn't have necessarily the most experienced campaign manager, and it was hard. So I understand the importance. Are we saying there's only a person with such a despicable history? Let me describe it that way. Maybe he's not despicable now. Despicable history such as Peter Daou. There's no one else who doesn't have this sort of albatross, sort of this thing around his neck. Let's continue with the tweet. He's the most experienced campaign manager I know of with independent Green Party politics and strong opposition. This is where Jill Stein lost the vast majority of us, right there. That's where you lost us. That's where you lost us, because we all experienced the experience that he has. We've seen the experience, and what independent Green Party politics, what history does he have of that? Where is that at? I'm genuinely asking, where is that at? This is approaching 1 million views. This is how awful this is. This is how awful this is. And I'm going to go to my tweet. I'm going to come back to the rest of her thread. This is my tweet that I put out. Quote tweeted her. This is what I said to this. The professional managerial class defending an absolutely terrible decision that says the opposite thing to working class people compared to what a Cornel West campaign was supposed to be about. And this is the key part, this next sentence. Dr. Stein, Cornel West, everybody in the camp, if you're having to come out and make these statements like this about filling a position that should not have any sort of reaction like this, you're already losing. And that's what I say here. You're already losing if you have to make a statement like this about the selection of a campaign manager. You're already losing. And this is not the best. This is a pretty good analogy, a decent analogy. Here, this is no different than Cornel West picking Nick Brana in the beginning. It feels like you're not reading the room with this pick. That's what it feels like. And I'm going to get to that in a second, more of that. This is like putting a reformed KKK member in charge of a movement to liberate black people. Insert any color of people. I said black because I'm black. I can only speak to that. But if you're not black, insert whatever cause you have. Well, does that make sense? Yeah, you're reformed. You're not a KKK member again. That is absolutely, genuinely great. Leading the local NAACP, that's a no, nigga. That's a no. That's a no. And the reason is, it's to me, this seems obvious why you don't do that. And I'll complete it. It's great that you're reformed, but in no way should you be in a supervisor advisory position. And the reason this is bad is because doesn't it make sense that a person who has been, let's use this example, this person who has been doing the work of liberating black people, or at least not working against it. Maybe you're not even doing the work, but you haven't been working against the cause of black liberation. Like a KKK member is working against the cause. Peter Daou was working against the cause that we're now saying he's working for. That's the difference. You don't put somebody who was just months ago working on the other side or for the other side. Now he's in charge of working the Green Party apparatus. That makes no sense. To get somebody newly on this side to run this campaign or this movement. And that's another point I want to say here. Let me bring that point up. Let me go to some of my notes here. You know what this pick says? You know what this pick says right here? This pick says, this is business as usual, working class people. Hey, dear working class and poor people, you thought you had something different with the Green Party in Cornel West. This is actually just business as usual. One deep state cesspool swamp monster just going from one campaign to the other, like Simone Sanders going from the Bernie Sanders campaign to the Joe Biden campaign, not based on anything in policy. Why do we want that for a movement we're building outside of the red-blue game? Why do we want a person for hire instead of a person that's here for policy? Doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense for what you're trying to do, Cornel West. It doesn't make sense for what you're trying to do. The same thing I said when Marianne Williamson, I was like, this doesn't make sense for what you want to do, Marianne Williamson. You want to court essentially the old Bernie Sanders coalition. Why would you get somebody who was the top smear merchant of that coalition? That doesn't make sense. For your own strategy, that doesn't make sense. All right. Let me read this from Fiorella. Oh, not that one. The Fiorella comment right here. It's Fiorella. This is exactly the excuse we got when Jeff Weaver was hired for the second time as Bernie's campaign manager. That's after he was discovered to be a full on operative, and we know how that campaign ended up. This is just like that. This is a great point that Fiorella makes. People will continue to make excuses, but hiring from the same Beltway pool, I call it a cesspool, gets you Beltway results. Losing to the Democratic Party, they use the same tire strategies and don't actually oppose the system. It's by design. Those who naively think otherwise will see it in due time. And that is Fiorella. Not important. Just needed to check here. Shout out to Fiorella. She's out doing reporting in Moscow. So shout out to Fiorella. If I didn't care about this campaign, I wouldn't even care to even do this stream. I'm doing the stream because I care about this campaign, and this is you understand, a third-party campaign is built on so much enthusiasm. It is so dependent on enthusiasm, and this is enthusiasm squashing. Any movement is built on enthusiasm. It's built on your belief. You have to be excited, enthused. This doesn't do that. Let's continue with her tweet here. Though I didn't know of Peter Daou in his days as a DNC defender, it's not hard to see how a war-torn, bloody childhood led to his fierce opposition to Bush and bondage to the Democratic Party. Are you talking about him being trained by the IDF? By the Israel Defense Forces? How does that look? Being for Palestinian rights, being against Israel apartheid, but you're hiring a guy who's trained by them? this is so disappointing. If only more liberal apologists would have this kind of wake up. He has. Okay, let me just read it. Here's our next one. With an experienced campaign manager, our team can give Cornel West the support he needs to break the duopoly and give all those thrown under the bus a reason to fight back. This just falls short, Dr. Stein. This falls short. This simply is just not good enough. This is not good enough. So let me go to some. Now I'm going to do a lot of scrolling down here, so just bear with me. Listen to me talk. Don't listen to this. Don't look at the screen, because I do want to give just the frank sort of reactions to this. But I'll skip that one. I couldn't believe that. Here's one. Here's David Cohen. Shout out to Dan. I'm sorry, Dan, not David. Dan. Shout out to Dan. He's been on the network many times. Friend of the show, friend of the network. Let's look and see what Dan. He's a reporter now. Peter Daou was one of the most shameless Clintonite propagandists from 2006 to 2019. You mean 4 years ago? Actually, let's expand this here. When the Clinton project had run its course and opportunistically moved towards the Bernie Sanders camp. He apologized for blaming Stein and Sanders for Hillary's loss. Think about that. Stein got him, and he was blaming Stein for Hillary's loss, sir. You can't. Hollywood writers could not write this. But never came clean about his dirty tricks or exposed the DNC cartel he worked for. Blindly trusting Daou shows atrocious political judgment. To put it nicely, and this is what I said, this is highly suspect. Cornel West's campaign went from questionable to a dumpster fire in 48-hour period. Go back to some of my notes here. The very fact that you're getting the reaction you're getting about the decision to pick Peter indicates how horrible the decision was. Can the Cornel West camp reflect? Dr. Cornel West, you talk about being improvisational. You're a jazz man. It's time to improv this decision. That's what it's time for. Let me go to another part that I have written down here. This decision is just as bad as the decision to work with Nick Brana. The Cornel West camp at the time received a lot of blowback for that selection, and the blowback they're getting about Peter is very similar. So that's why I say it's very similar. This decision feels like the only people in the room contributing ideas in the Cornel West camp are from the professional managerial class. It feels like there's no working class vibes whatsoever in the conversations. Because think about it. You have to think about the mindset of a person in professional managerial class. You have two doctors here, Dr. West, Dr. Jill Stein. It could be unconsciously you give value to things that make you a professional managerial class, things like credentials. You give that value more than the betrayal. That could be a blind spot of being in a professional managerial class. That's why I said this feels like there's no working class voices in these conversations on this camp, which is bad. Let me go to another thing I wrote down. It leads me to something else I wrote down. If you're only in this for politics, okay. If you're just here for politics, this is what I wrote. But this isn't, this is what I wrote. If this was just about politics, aka the election in 2024, only that, not building a movement forward, picking Peter wouldn't be as egregious. It would be bad. It wouldn't be as egregious. But if you're saying we're trying to build a movement, when building a movement, it matters who you have in the positions of power and leadership. Because it's about enthusiasm. You think the Black Panthers, for example, could have gotten the number of people if they brought in as one of their leaders instead of Fred Hampton? Hey, can you get one of those black coons that sold us out, have him lead the chapter? You think that would have grew it? I want this campaign to do better. What's up, Ron? New member for 6 months. I didn't know you can buy memberships like that, a whole like months in advance like that, like for the whole 6 months. Thanks, great show. Thank you, new member. Let's read some. Let me get back to my notes here. Let me get to some other things I wrote down here. So I finished that part, and we haven't even got to the IDF in Zionism. Is he a Zionist? If he represented Hillary Clinton, wouldn't he had to have been okay with Zionism? I think somebody said they say David Brock he represented John Kerry. Aren't all of them Zionists? How does that look? One of Cornel West's Dr. Cornel West's policies that he says and he argues vigorously and always make sure he includes is the fight for Palestinian freedom. How does it look to have an IDF, Israel Defense Forces trained campaign manager who's okay with Zionism? Again, if we're talking about politics only, okay. We're not only talking about that, we're talking about a movement that requires enthusiasm. You're not going to get it with appointments like this. All right, so let me see what. I shouldn't have clicked on that. Let's go back out. And now let me scroll down and just listen to this. Look at some of these here. Here goes one here. So again, these, I want to go here. The ones, these are people replying, and she got like 644 comments on this. So this is what this person says. West Coast Cat, Mr. West Coast Cat. Oh no, please, Jill, say it ain't so. Are you serious with this? I just can't anymore. I'm never taking a politician serious ever again. Y'all always end up sucking. Go join Bernie in the dead to me. Go join Bernie in the dead to me pile. Unforgivable. This is a terrible. I'm not quite sure they grasp how terrible this decision is. I'm not sure they get that. I hope they watch this. If all of you clip different sections of this, tag me on Twitter, I'll retweet it. Clip different sections of this where points are made, I'll retweet it. If you tag me. This shit is the word to this camp needs to be this word that this message that I'm preaching in this stream needs to get back to the camp here. This is a golden opportunity that you're going to allow slip away with moves like this. And it feels like you don't have any working class voices in the rooms of these discussions. And if you just have the professional managerial class, you come up with decisions like this. Let's continue some other reaction here. I appreciate your honesty and forthrightness, but I also question both your and Dr. West's judgment at this point. Time to explore other third-party options. The guy hasn't worked a day. If this reaction doesn't cause you to rethink this and backtrack, if you are going to be tone deaf to this message that is screaming, 40 to 60% of your supporters are screaming, this is terrible. Let's continue. Where is this the right screen? I'm sorry. I'm looking at my TV screen. I need to make sure I'm in the right screen here. Yeah, I am. All right. I read that one. Here's another one. David, Biden equals, I'm just reading the caption here. Glad to see we really have no heroes. That's a poor person disappointed. Talk about fucking up. This is a unforced error by this campaign. Jill, this ain't it, Chief. Nope. He's not independent. Strong ties to the establishment. Hard pass. You picked a Hillary Clinton tool. Shaking my head. Doesn't look good. Angela, shout out Angela. I've retweeted and showed her tweet many times. If Peter Daou is our only hope for strong opposition to the duopoly, we are truly fucked. Do you mean a campaign manager who worked overtime to prevent Green candidates from ballot access? Oh my God, I cannot believe that this screams professional managerial class. This is such a blind spot. You guys need some working class people on this campaign here, in the rooms for these decisions, when these discussions, that's giving input. Because if you guys didn't hear, somebody in the room didn't jump up and scream, no fucking way should you add this guy. Y'all need to ask somebody else to these discussions here. Here's some more. Utterly disappointed. Dr. Stein, you cannot make mistakes like this. This has done damage to Dr. West's campaign that will not be recoverable. Yes. Even if you switch him out, Peter Daou, there's some people who left, they'll be like, nah, I just can't, man. The decision making real flimsy over there. I can't fuck with that. The glass half full for me. I can move on now. We are never too old to learn from our mistakes, even high profile, highly educated people. Here's another one. Cornell West campaign manager Peter Daou was trained by the IDF. How exactly, Dr. West, do you maintain any credibility whatsoever of standing up for Palestinian rights when you have an IDF-trained campaign manager? This Peter Daou tweet. This is a terrible decision. This is terrible. This is terrible. Peter says in his tweet, this is from 2014, I grew up in Beirut and was in the Christian militia trained by IDF. That sounds like he's boasting about it. I don't understand this. What is going on here? Has everyone been co-opted now? Here's another one. Sorry, Jill. Daou is absolutely one of the worst choices ever. He's a DNC COINTELPRO operative that's already sinking West's campaign. How unfortunate. I was one who was open to anyone could change their mind politically. But on closer inspection, this is a huge mistake. Those on Rumble is commenting a lot. Those are Rumble comments coming in. I can't turn the sound off, so you'll just have to hear the buzzing. At first, I was surprised at the vitriol, but now I'm wondering how this choice could have been made. I wasn't planning to vote anyway, but now the message is lost. Dear Dr. Stein, you do have a sense why folks are not happy, to say the least. We're tired of being portrayed by political con artists. Mr. Daou comes with the kind of unresolved baggage that further slows Dr. West's momentum since his discussion with Jimmy Dore. This hasn't been a good week for the campaign. Question, no more donations on Twitter. Questions. Do you bring Peter Daou to Cornel West before or after he was interviewed by Jimmy Dore? That's a question he's posing. Was Daou part of the same IDF-trained militia perpetrating slaughters of Palestinians during the Sabra and Shatila massacre of 1982? This shit is all bad. This shit is all bad. This is not this hard not to pick somebody this terrible. This is not this hard. This is not this hard. We're not going to have an opportunity like this again. And it feels like it's slipping away. It feels like it's slipping away. Just think about it. Think about moving forward. And let me adjust some things here. Think about moving forward. Anytime Cornel West says something that may seem milquetoast to all of us, what is people's reaction going to be? There goes Peter Daou's influence. Anytime you choose to go easy on the Democratic Party, what are people going to say? There goes that Democratic Shield influence on the Cornel West campaign. Are these good for strategically? Are these good? Are these good things to happen to your campaign for people to have these questions? I say no. I say when you pick let me say it this way. You don't pick a background dancer that draws attention away from the lead singer, and that's what you're doing. These appointments should be something that's very earth-shattering. But let me continue with this here. More reaction. This is just a parody now. With strong history in duopoly, fix that. Not fighting duopoly or opposing it. I forget the phrasing. It's obvious that Cornel needs better campaign management, but you're going to have to do a lot to convince people that Peter isn't a wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, that's profoundly disappointing. This is people responding to Dr. Jill Stein. Understand that. Let me just refresh your memory. This is what they're responding to. I feel as if I've been hit by an MSNBC space laser. That's pretty funny. How could you not have heard of him? And when are failed campaigns desirable when hiring a leader of a campaign? That is the point that I made earlier. The NFL don't go, the Jets don't go, I'm sorry, let's pick a different name. Los Angeles Rams. We need a new coach. Who do we get? Who lost all their games last year? That's who we want. What campaign has Peter Daou won? I'm confused. I thought Peter Daou was the campaign manager for Hillary Clinton. I mean, doesn't that contradict? I don't know how to. Can't figure it out. Contradict everything in your tweet. if he wasn't involved in Clinton's campaign, my apologies. So the person wasn't for sure. I legit am completely without words. Shout out Jack Page. Showed a tweet before. And then that's just my thing there. I read mine. Here's another one. Do you not even get that this is a war of absolute enmity? Why not? Why? On God's green earth would you elect to have a former agent of the crown as the campaign manager? The optics alone are tanking his campaign quickly amongst his already small niche-based lefties. And that is a great point. Any chance we can get Dick Cheney to run as his VP? Why not? Why not? Bring them all here. This is all a establishment fest. Just open the doors for all of them. It's truly, this is clown shit. This is clown shit. This is just a terrible, terrible decision. Yeah. All right. Should I read a couple more? Let me see if there's anything new. So we went through the posts. I read a bunch of the people who were talking in her thread. All of those comments were from her thread. Those aren't from my thread. That's her thread. I'm sorry, Fiorella was the only one from my thread. All those other disappointed comments was from her thread, which is astounding. So let's do this. I'll read that article in just a second, but let's do this. Let me see. Peter Daou. Let's just see what Twitter is saying about Peter Daou right now. If there's any new information that I'm missing here. I haven't heard Rome. Maybe I'll play it in a second. Hang on a second here. Maybe I'll play Rome's. Pat is okay with it. Professor Zinkas is okay with the selection. Colin is not. I'm just giving you the lowdown as we pass some of these people. All right, so let me see if there's any other media I can show. Yeah. That's Peter Daou essentially saying a bunch of stuff. What is this right here?
Paper. I just want the paper.
Okay. I couldn't tell what the video was actually him talking or not. So I'm looking for any possible videos that might be out on Peter Daou. Because he's hot, you can see like there's a lot of current tweets. Classic misdirection. That's like, this is not going over well. This is not going over well. This is pretty funny. How do you do, fellow revolutionary, in a disguise like this when you can clearly see? That's a funny one right there. That's a funny one. That's a good meme. Did I click? That's a good one. Let's see if there's any other ones that I missed. Of course, the Vanguard doing Vanguard shit. That's what the Vanguard does. Anyway, all right. So I don't think there's anything else there for me to pick up on or to pull out of right here. It is very disappointing. Like, I don't know what else to say about it. It's truly disappointing. Let me see if I have got all my notes. Actually, let me finish off with my notes here. I got one last thing here to read. And let's read it. All right. So here's one other thing I said here. Any non-policy decision that causes you, now think about this, because if people don't want to follow you, Cornel West's campaign based on his policy, I'm for Palestinians, right? Oh, I'm not following you. That's fine. But any non-policy decision, the the pencils you use, the pens you use, in non-policy decision that causes you to lose potential donations and potential volunteers is a terrible decision, wouldn't you say? You know how many people will not donate to the Cornel West campaign now because of this? You know how many people who will not volunteer for the Cornel West campaign because of this? This is like tying one hand behind your back before you enter a fight. Like you tying your own hand behind your back before you enter a fight. That's what this is like to me. That's what I had written down. I think we can close. It's just very disappointing. It's extremely disappointing because for a campaign that has so much excitement and enthusiasm around it, it seems to have died down, or at least a little bit has died down a little. Biden lies about 9/11. This is a quick, short clip that I do want to show you in just a second, but I am going to read the super chats. And this will be the next story. Just wanted to put that up there. That'll be the next story. But let's read some of the super chats, because the super chats still concerning the story of Peter Daou. So let's see what everybody is saying in the super chats about Peter Daou. So I guess we can keep the segment going until we finish the comments. I think I had 3 before, so it looks like we got 7 super chats since then. All right, I'll read from the bottom. Only way to save it now is to make Jimmy Dore VP. I wouldn't say that. Love Jimmy Dore, but not as he shouldn't be VP. Felonious Punk. That's funny. Felonious Monk. $2. Thank you for. Did I put that up? I read it, but did I put it up? If I didn't, let me put it up. Let's read the next one. It's very upsetting that Dr. West is giving PMCs a big voice in his campaign. Dr. West was upset that Jimmy was rude while he ignored y'all and Nico. That is true. Because we get, like, you can be mad at him about the message he gave you about not saying it about Trump, but Nick and I gave him that message a month before that twice. So, Name My Taco, that was from Name My Taco. I should have said the name first. Here's another one from Roger Meadows. Looking to be enthused, run citizen ballot initiatives. Roger Meadows. Here's another one from DC. Peter Daou worked for at least 2 secretaries of state, not when they both were in those positions, but still, National Secretary of State oversees the CIA. And I saw this earlier. Ron Dew, brand new member. What's the use of that experience? Yeah, that's what I was saying. What's the use of the experience that Peter Daou has? Here is another one from DC. That was from Felonious Monk, I should have said. Here's another one from DC. Obvious PSYOP is obvious. COINTELPRO campaign. That's the hashtag. And I read this one earlier. Worker co-ops can stop AI and make this guy irrelevant. Sad. Still sad. Anyway, here is CNN. And here is shout out to Nico, friend of the show. Well, actually, let me start the segment off right. And I put the right banner up. That's the right way. We'll start here, Aaron. Biden is caught in another lie. His whereabouts after the day after 9/11, and actually CNN covers it, which in itself is another story, but that's a story for another day. Let's read this tweet from friend of the show, Nico. Well, I stand corrected. CNN just went down a long list of the lies Biden has told since becoming president. Now they're only saying they only say he embellishes story. They didn't call him a flat out liar. They would like they would Trump, but I'll take the win. And let's listen. It's only a minute and a half. Let's listen.
And he has done, I don't know if it's similar things, but he's sort of told some stories that don't line up quite like this before.
Yeah, this president has a pattern at this point of either inventing or embellishing stories about his own
That's
past,
lying.
his biography. He did it 3 times in one speech last month alone. He claimed he had witnessed a bridge collapse in Pittsburgh when he actually showed up about 6 hours later. He claimed that his grandfather had died just days before he was born himself at the same hospital. In fact, his grandpa died more than a year before in a different state, not the same hospital. And he also repeated a favorite false story that I and others have debunked over and over again about a supposed conversation with an Amtrak train conductor he was friends with, who was actually deceased at the time the conversation would have had to take place. And that's not all. There are some more serious ones in my view. Previously in his presidency, he claimed at one point he'd been arrested during a civil rights protest when, in other versions of the story, he just said an officer had taken him home from a protest. He said he had visited the Pittsburgh synagogue where worshipers were killed in a 2018 mass shooting. In fact, he had actually spoken to the rabbi, but never went. And he's made a whole bunch of others too. He said at one point, Republicans like to bring this up, he said that he used to drive a tractor trailer, he used to drive an 18-wheeler. Never happened. The White House later clarified he used to drive a school bus at one point as a job briefly. School bus, of course, not an 18-wheeler. So whatever his intentions, whether it's foggy memory about stuff that's going on decades ago or deliberate embellishment, this is an unfortunate pattern that keeps coming up again and again with Joe Biden.
It's an unfortunate pattern. It's a nice way of saying he's a habitual liar. But it's an unfortunate pattern. Let's see, lies whereabouts 9/11. I'll bring up the story. I thought I had saved it, but I'll just bring up the story. It's the same story. I think that they have the same clip that I just played, but I'll bring this down and bring up the story. Let me see. Where is it? The story is here. Here it goes. CNN Politics fact check. Biden falsely claims he was at ground zero the next day after 9/11. And they reported on 9/11. Looking at the date, September 11th, they put this story out, and Biden falsely claims that's a synonym for lies. Biden lies about being at ground zero the next day. I'll read a couple of paragraphs here. In a speech to service members and first responders on the anniversary of the terrorist attack of September 11, 2001, President Joe Biden falsely claims that he was at ground zero the day after the Twin Towers fell in Manhattan. Biden, returning from a whirlwind trip to Asia, said in his Monday remarks at a military base in Alaska, quote, "I join you on this solemn day to renew our sacred vow. Never forget, we never forget each of us, each of those precious lives stolen too soon when evil attacked. Ground zero in New York City. I remember standing there the next day and looking at the buildings, and I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because of the way from where you could stand." Lion ass motherfucker. That is Joe Biden. And it just goes along with his history. I'll take that little advertising down. It just goes along with Joe Biden's history, the corn pop, just several things, the plagiarism when he had to back out of a previous campaign, a previous presidential campaign. So it's long and wide that this guy has been a liar. And I think I can find the video to close out this segment on Joe Biden, the liar. But it's significant that CNN is calling this out because they could do a bunch of stories and not even bring this up. So it is significant that he did this. So let's say liar. Oops, Joe Biden liar. Let's see what comes up when I look this up. This hashtag up. I think it's the video. Oh, the video I just covered, but I was looking for an older video. Oh, here's where he says it right here. Here's the actual footage of him saying it right here.
To renew our sacred vow, never forget, never forget. We never forget. Each of us, each of those precious lives stolen too soon when evil attacked. Ground Zero in New York, and I remember standing there the next day and looking at the building. I felt like I was looking through the gates of hell. It looked so devastating because from where you could stand. To renew.
Lying ass motherfucker, boy. That's Joe Biden. We are definitely in a good. Our system is great, right? All right. I did my due diligence to try to check. Let's see how they cover it here. I'm curious to see how they cover it.
He's
on
insecure.
Fox News.
His own biographer says Joe's insecure about being perceived as dumb. And we've seen his intellectual insecurities, like when he lied about finishing in the top half of his law school class. He really finished near dead last. In fact, Joe almost got expelled from law school for plagiarism. He copied 5 pages of a paper, 5 pages. The one original thought Biden's ever had was to divide Iraq into 3 countries. The Ayatollah loved the idea, so maybe he stole that too. Joe Biden's long history of plagiarism was first exposed in the late 80s when he ran for president. He was caught lifting lines from a Neil Kinnock speech, and then we found out he did the same thing with the Kennedys.
It cannot measure the health of our children, the quality of our education, the joy of their play.
The gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play.
Our generation of Americans will pay any price, bear any burden, accept any challenge, and meet any hardship.
We shall pay any price, bear any burden.
They're stealing shit.
Now, Primetime has uncovered yet another Biden plagiarism scandal. When Joe was a senator, he submitted an article to a Harvard journal. A junior editor at the Harvard Journal, Roger Severino, says it was his job to cite check Biden's article. Severino says Biden's article was riddled with plagiarism. Severino flagged the plagiarism to the lead editor of the Harvard Journal.
This is Joe
expecting
Biden.
it to get bounced, but the editor covered it up.
Sorry, this is a
Fixing
little
the
bit interesting.
plagiarism,
I'll play a
adding
little
proper
bit more, then we'll
citations,
move
and
on
then
to the final
publishing it.
story here.
Let's turn it over now to Roger Severino, who's today Heritage Foundation Vice President. So, Roger, why are you deciding to come forward with this now?
Well, the truth has to be told. I read an article in the Washington Post that was exposing the history of Biden lying and exaggerating. You mentioned earlier in a segment about his saying that his car was going to be on fire. That's been exposed. He tends to embellish and he tends to lie. And as your segment showed, he has decades of history doing this. In 1988, he dropped out of the race in part because he was exposed for plagiarizing a speech from a British politician. So that background history was there when this article came across my desk when I was in law school by one Senator Joseph Biden. And I was shocked that it contained plagiarism. He lifted straight out of a dissenting opinion and used those words as his own. And I mean, words like heralds of a new era and things like that.
All right, I think we can stop it
I've
there.
heard this before. And then I checked thoroughly and said, those aren't his words. That's a judge's words that he's trying to take off as his own. And that's just wrong. And the problem is he's been doing this for decades, and American people have to know he's never owned up to his plagiarism scandals and his constant embellishment.
Was this just one paragraph in the article, or did...
That's Joe Biden, the liar, just lying once again about 9/11. All right, so now I just really want to get to this fantastic segment here. And it's with you're talking unhinged. Oh, where did it go? Where'd State of the Union go? Yeah. I had it up. Let me type it in again. Anyway, Nikki Haley goes on the State of the Union with Jake Tapper. Oh, I got to type it right here. State of the Union with Jake Tapper, and completely goes unhinged. Okay, here it goes. And let's go to episodes. And what was the last episode? 23. How do I go? September 3rd. Where's Haley? Recent. Let's try recent. All right, let's try this one. I haven't put it up yet because I need to make sure this is the right one before I do. All right, it is. Let me share my screen. I have to get to this interview because it is completely unhinged. Jake Tapper again is going to make a repeat appearance today on today's show. Let me bring it up here. This is Jake Tapper on State of the Union. He brings on let me start over here. I got to remember to do this for Aaron. Make sure I start with the right everything up here. So let's get the right banner. And then before I start this here, Nikki Haley gets unhinged on CNN. All right, that should do it. All right, Aaron, we will start here. Nikki Haley goes on CNN and absolutely has an unhinged interview about China. And Jake Tapper, the neocon Jake Tapper, is almost like the instigator. You can feel it in the interview that he's kind of trying to goad her on, trying to like instigate her to do more, to be more neoconish. Let's listen to this unhinged interview, State of the Union.
With frustration, calling it, quote, nothing to be proud of after G20 members, Russia and China, had resisted stronger language in that final statement.
Wait a minute, yeah.
Let's get straight to Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley for her
good.
response to President Biden's trip. She's also the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Ambassador Haley, thanks so much for joining us. Last year's G20 statement, as you know, explicitly condemned Russia's invasion of Ukraine, though, of course, Russia did not sign off on that part of the statement. This year, the final statement stopped short of any direct comment.
So let's make sure we understand what they're talking about here. There's just literally a statement about Ukraine that shows that the G20s and G20 countries are all uniformly against this. Last year, they came out with a statement. This year, they're saying the statement wasn't strong enough. So we're just talking about strongly worded letters here, okay? That's all we're talking about. Nothing really tangible. Let's listen.
Condemnation of the invasion. What is your reaction? What do you think is more important, unanimity or an explicit condemnation?
It was a win for Russia and China. They're celebrating today. I mean, what we should have had was Biden should have really pushed hard to acknowledge what he acknowledged a year ago, that Russia invaded a pro-American, freedom-loving country. And that's a fact. And to deny a fact a year later is giving a win to Russia, and China is gloating because they're looking at Taiwan as this is happening, and it's a shame.
Some House Republicans, as you know, are fighting to...
China is gloating. Do you understand how cartoonish that is? Like, the American political system, the American propaganda machine, make these sort of cartoonish kind of caricatures out of the bad guys. Like they're laughing, ha 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 ha, rolling their hands like this, ha 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 ha, Look what happened. That's not happening, but that's the image they want to give off as the with China and Russia in particular, as she does here. Let's continue. Oops.
Strip $24 billion in aid to Ukraine out of the upcoming government
Let me
spending
rewind
bill.
it just a second here to make sure we get that full thought here on this.
A year later is giving a win to Russia, and China is gloating because they're looking at Taiwan.
Look how he
as this is
instigates
happening,
here.
and it's
Watch
insane.
Jake Tapper.
Some House
instigate.
Republicans, as you know, are fighting to strip $24 billion in aid to Ukraine out of the upcoming government spending bill. Do you think that would be a mistake?
I think that you have to look at the fact that 3.5% has been spent from our defense budget towards Ukraine. That's just 3.5%. That percentage of GDP, 11 European countries have spent more than us. We know that Russia has said once they take Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. And then you're looking.
That's an outright lie. That's an outright lie. They have to, for your argument to sell, it's not a good thing for you to sell your argument that you have to lie about your opponent's argument. And that's what you're doing. In order to sell Ukraine, you have to lie as if Ukraine is the first country of Russia's westward march towards imperialism to take over all the. That's not what's happening. That's not what was said. That's what you have to pretend in order to sell your case. That's how bad your case is.
Looking at a full-on war. What we're trying to do is prevent war. That's a pretty good return on investment to prevent war. So I think that we need to continue giving them equipment.
Understand what they're saying here. The 3% investment in a war is to stop a war. We have to invest in a war in order to stop a war. Let me just get through this. Let's get through this.
And ammunition with our allies to win. I don't think we need to give them straight up cash. I don't think we need to put troops on the ground, but we need to finish this because we have to always remember a win for Russia is a win for China. They've made that very clear. And right now, China is our number one national security threat.
So House Republicans should keep that Ukraine spending in the spending bill and should not separate it.
You see how he's trying to make sure he gets her on camera saying, keep the money in. Republicans are trying to take it out. He wants them to keep it in. And this is the middle ground network. You see the bipartisan nature in the war propaganda? He has no pushback about any of this. He's questioning her as if he agrees with everything she says. Let's continue.
And should support it.
Republicans and Democrats should not pull in Afghanistan. Don't go pulling out now.
Oh my God.
Putin is at rock bottom. We know that because he's getting drones from Iran and missiles from North Korea. We know that because they've raised the draft age in Russia to 65. Finish this. Biden has.
Don't pull in Afghanistan. We don't have troops there, so how can they pull in Afghanistan? There is no troops there, so how can what you describe as the debacle of Afghanistan, not in this interview, in a different one, the debacle of Afghanistan and what happened, what troops are going to be pulled out? Just the money flow is going to stop.
Has missed multiple opportunities to finish this. We need to make sure that we end this war quickly, that we finish it, but we do it the right way. We don't want a further war, and the only way we can do that is to have Ukraine win. And there's no one that wants the Ukrainians to win more than the Taiwanese, because they know that if Ukraine wins, China will stay away from Taiwan. And so, yes, I think Republicans and Democrats.
If Ukraine wins, China will stay away from Taiwan. It's so much lies. You know, Ukraine wins. I'm gonna play this some more. This is the level of propaganda, the level of relentless propaganda that the Ukraine war has brought on is obscene, because people don't want the war. They know this in the polls. That's why they don't bring up the polls anymore. Instead of doing what people want, which is illustrated in the polls, they come in and say, no, we need to stay here. And this is why we need to stay here. We're not going to do what you guys want us to do with your money. We're going to keep giving it to weapons manufacturers.
Democrats need to keep their eye on the ball, and that is, let's finish this mission in Ukraine, and then we will handle Russia and China by just doing that.
Your fellow candidates, Chris Christie and Mike Pence, have traveled to Ukraine this year. Are you planning on traveling to Ukraine?
What?
I plan on.
Why is Jake Tapper so focused on making sure Nikki Haley shows her support, overwhelming support for the Ukraine war? Why is that the target of the segment? Because of the fear of what the GOP is doing, trying to strip the money out of the GOP? I'm sorry, out of the bill that they have, $24 billion they want to include. All right, let's listen a little more. We'll close up.
Plan on traveling to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, and the rest of the country. I don't have time to go to another country right now. I'm trying to earn the support of many Americans.
A special United Nations commission looking into human rights violations in Ukraine recently said that it had, quote, not reached a conclusion.
He literally did not intake what she said, because this is not a dialogue. She said something and he just went on into his pre-approved lines. This is not a dialogue. He's just rambling off said weapon manufacturer's questions to her, and then that's it. He doesn't care what her reaction is. Doesn't feel like it at all. And listen to it again. Listen to when she ends. How could he have taken in what she said in order to process another question? He didn't. It's almost like he's not even listening to her.
Going to Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Nevada, and the rest of the country. I don't have time to go to another country right now. I'm trying to earn the support of many Americans.
A special United Nations commission looking into human rights violations in Ukraine recently said that it had, quote, not reached a conclusion whether there's genocide in Ukraine. You were the UN ambassador. Is that finding acceptable to you? Do you think Russia is committing genocide in Ukraine?
Wow.
Well, first of all, it's hard to believe anything the UN says. It's a bit political. It's usually China biased. And it's also Russian, intruding into whatever they put out there. I think that what you have is, you know, when I was at the United Nations, we had no better friend than Ukraine. They voted with us on everything. They were supportive of everything that we did, and they're pro-American. And I think what we know is that they're a democracy. And the reason that they are so careful in this war is they're trying to protect people and trying to prevent Ukrainians from dying. I think if there's any bullseye, you need to be looking at Russia. They're the ones that have invaded. They're the ones that are targeting schools. They're the ones that continue to have death that they don't care about. And I think that's the one we really need to be talking about. So I don't take any UN report too seriously.
On the subject of China, the Biden administration, as you know, recently sent 4 top officials to China to try to stabilize relations. You have said the Biden administration has the wrong approach because they're looking for win-win cooperation with China. You say, quote, they don't see us as a competitor. They see us as an enemy, unquote. Do you view China as an enemy?
China's been practically preparing for war with us for years. Yes, I view China as an enemy.
They've been practically preparing for war for them for years. These neocons, they're going to kill us one way, either the planet or by war. What threat does China pose to the United States? Talking about military threat. We have 800 bases, more closely to probably more like 1,000 if we're talking about secret bases. What do they have? 1 or 2? 3? What threat? What war have they been preparing? Are you talking about sending submarines over or sending, I forget what they sent to Australia. Are you talking about that? That seems like we're preparing for war with them. What are we doing in the China Straits? What are we doing over there? I understand if people are still buying this. I'm
And what's
trying to get through
disappointing
this.
about what Biden has done is here you have China has bought up 400,000 acres of U.S. soil, most recently near Grand Forks Air Force Base. They bought our largest pork producer in the country. They continue to steal $600 billion of intellectual.
So what Jake Tapper and this show, this is to build up anger against China. That's what this is about. Because in order to go to war, if they're planning to go to war in 2025, and they've already said it, a country can't just go to war. The people will be against it. They have to build up animosity towards said country. So you do with things like China spy balloon, stuff like that. Or things like what she's saying right here. They haven't been doing anything to escalate anything.
Intellectual property. They're sending millions of dollars to our universities and stealing our research and spreading propaganda. 90% of our law enforcement drones are Chinese. So while Americans freaked out over the Chinese spy balloon, just imagine what's happening with all these mini spy balloons. They have killed more Americans than the Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam wars combined with their sending fentanyl over. I mean, how much more has
Wow.
just imagine.
Listen to this.
$100 billion
And we're going to end it on
property.
this.
They're sending millions of dollars to our universities and
This
stealing
is
our research and spreading
unhinged.
propaganda. 90% of our
Listen
law
to this.
enforcement drones are Chinese.
Not this
So
part,
while
the next
Americans
one.
freaked out over the Chinese spy balloon, just imagine what's happening with all these mini spy balloons. They have
Mini
killed
spy
more
balloons.
Americans than the Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam wars combined with their sending
What?
fentanyl over. I mean, how much more has to
You get what she's doing. She's trying to make a moral equivalence. Yeah, we killed all those people. And you notice the countries she named? All the countries she invaded? Iraq, Iran? They've killed more than us. That's the way you're going to say China has committed more atrocities in war, has a larger body count, is you're trying to say it's this indirect way you're trying to make. Gotcha. This is the establishment. They are pushing for Nikki Haley so bad. They want her to run like so bad. Both sides. They feel like Nikki Haley is a conservative that even Democrats, especially those in the suburbs, could vote for. And both sides are okay with her winning office. Just want to do a quick rundown and see if there's anything that I missed. Headlines wise, refuse to Starlink support. Okay, so I saw that one. Is there any other video? Actually, let me go to Nick's page. I think he did a new, them little TikTok videos he does. I think he did a new one. So maybe we will end on that video because it's just about time to get out of here in a little bit. Tell me what you think about the coverage of the Dr. Jill Stein story. A couple of announcements. Here's our Substack. Make sure you join our Substack. When we go live, streams like this. I don't know if Nick is going to have Nick at Night tonight, but if he goes live, that's how you're going to find out and get the link to watch. Join our Substack right there, scrolling at the bottom. The next thing, our website. Check out our website. If you're in Boston, this is where you submit your mutual aid request. So if you're an elderly or disabled person who needs help with mowing your lawn or some garden work, you can submit a mutual aid request on our website at the Boston chapter. This mutual aid request will soon be on the Detroit chapter also. It's at the Boston chapter if you need some help with something. Best way to support us is by Patreon. That is our stable money that we get on a monthly basis. This is also how we pay our one employee, Aaron, who does all of our graphics, our editor, all of our sort of media things. So you want to support her, you support her also on Patreon. I think that is it. Let me make sure I have anything else I'm supposed to announce today. Oh, other thing, here is the fundraiser we're doing for Aaron. That is the GoFundMe. If you're able to contribute funds, $1, $2, $3, $5, even if it's $100, if you want to do that too, it's no limit, $500. Want to contribute to the goal 775. I think we're more than halfway there. $775 is what we're trying to raise to pay Aaron. And I believe we're more than halfway there. So if you're able to contribute, please do. And now let's see what's on Nick's page. I think, yeah, UFOs right here. He has a UFO clip. Let me see if I want to play that. Or if it's another one he has. Any other one he has. Yeah, that's nonsense. We'll cover that another time. All right, so I'll play this one. This is on UFOs. Let's listen. Yeah, let's listen to this one. Minute and a half. I'm trying to pick one that's longer. This one's longer, so let's actually play. Let's actually play Nico House's because it's a little bit longer by like 15, 20 seconds here. Let's listen. Actually, let me make sure I don't have any other super chats. I may have that one. Let me make sure I don't have it. I do have one. Trump listens to his base more than Cornell. That might be true. I will have to sit down and do a deep dive assessment, I guess, but maybe that is true. But we're going to end here with this clip. Nico House, friend of the show, friend of the network, is about Elon Musk and his Starlink support Ukraine attack. Let's listen to this nonsense. Let's listen to Nico House break down this nonsense propaganda. Here goes Nico House. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Push against the appointment of Peter Daou. Go let the campaign know that you're not happy with this selection. Put pressure on it, and let's go.
So liberals are super upset because Elon Musk wouldn't allow his Starlink system to be used by Ukraine to potentially start World War III. In what could very well be the best marketing ploy of the decade, a leaked excerpt from Elon Musk's biography showed that Elon Musk blocked Starlink from allowing Ukraine to attack Russian assets in Crimea. Now, the reason that he did that was pretty justified. He got on the phone with some Russian military officers and they said there will be consequences and repercussions of a nuclear nature if you allow this attack to go down. So I can't believe I'm actually praising Elon Musk here, but thank you for not allowing World War III to go down, I guess. Now, even though you and I might be appreciative of Elon making an executive decision, given all the information, and not allowing World War III to happen, Democrats don't seem to be all that happy about it. Both liberal media and liberal politicians have been like, God damn you, Elon. Why wouldn't you allow World War III to happen? This calls for an investigation. Now, as CNN's defense, I kind of get it. Ratings have been pretty low for them. So if I was a major media conglomerate, I would probably want World War III too if my numbers were in the tank. But more importantly, I've heard Elon say that he wants a peaceful resolution in Ukraine, but what I just learned, basically, is that Ukraine literally could not fight a war on behalf of NATO if it wasn't for your Starlink services. So Elon, if you really want to stop World War III and you really want peace in that region, how about you stop letting the Pentagon use your services and sell them to neo-Nazis? Just a suggestion. I don't know.